The US, the EU, and China all updated their EV battery safety standards within the last year, and it's going to surprise you which one is the most strict. So the US standard likely to start having their enforcement on the late 2026 models. The EU starts their enforcement in 27, but for the 2029 models. In China, well, their enforcement starts July of 2026. But CATL has already met that standard. One of the biggest aspects across all three standards is the observation of a thermal runaway of a single cell. And all have a 5-minute warning for the occupants of that vehicle. So for those of you who don't know what thermal runaway is, this is my cheap explanation. A battery is made up of multiple cells, and one of those cells gets damaged in one way or another. And during its damage or after it's damaged, it gives off all of that energy that's been stored, and it dissipates that in a form of either heat and or light. And that heat, as it's giving off that energy, starts to heat up the next cell. And that cell then gets damaged, and it starts to heat up and give off and dissipate its energy and heat up the next cell and the next cell. And it gets exponentially larger until it's almost impossible to stop. So the US standard has a 3-minute warning for a thermal runaway that's occurring. A 3-minute warning to the occupants. The EU, a 5-minute warning. China, a 5-minute warning. But where the Chinese standard excels is that it does not allow smoke or fire to be visible within the cabin, the passenger compartment, during that time period. The Chinese standard also implements the rule of no fire or explosion for 2 hours from a single cell thermal runaway. Now, the US could have adopted that similar standard, but the National Traffic Highway Safety Administration has determined that that is an unduly design restrictive act to put on auto manufacturers to do exactly what CATL did. So when you're looking at safety for an EV, look at the Chinese safety standard and CATL, because they do build batteries for other manufacturers, such as BMW, Toyota, Honda, Volvo through Geely, Chery, Chinese company, but they do build these batteries, and they build them to that standard, or will be building them to that standard. Now, if this is something you enjoy, you like hearing about, subscribe, follow, and I'll bring you more down the road.